an order from the government of India, to mobile phone manufacturers to make it mandatory to pre-install the Sanchar Saathi app has created a huge furore politically and has also raised a lot of questions about the privacy and snooping allegations on the government. Not just the politics that erupted over this new directive of the government to the mobile manufacturers and importers, but cybersecurity experts are divided over why should this app be pre-installed in mobile phones. Except Russia, no other country does anything like this. The cybersecurity app, Sanchar Saathi app, pre-installed, that was the order, in every handset sold in India in the next 90 days. And for mobile phones which are already in existence, the order said that you have time to send out security updates, software updates, in which the updates will ensure that the Sanchar Saathi app will be installed in users' phones and they will not be able to delete or disable that app. The government says it is an important cyber security, in fact, operation that this app is useful tool in. And I will tell you why the government makes that argument as well. Also, when this order came out, people started talking about it. A lot of questions then were raised. The opposition is calling this a move as the big brother watching, as a dystopian, snooping attempt by the government. However, some clarification has come from the Union Telecom Minister. Before I get into what the Union Telecom Minister said and what the opposition has said, let me very quickly first tell you what this Sanchar Saathi app is. Because this app is not a new app. It has been in existence for the last few years. People have been using it, but till now, you can delete this app if you want to. It's a useful tool when you are, in fact, checking certain important information, like what we are telling you right now. What is the government's missive as far as the Sanchar Saathi app is concerned, and what does this app do? Users can check their phone's validity. They can also check the IMEI details. Now, this is a 15-digit number on your phone, which makes this your phone number unique. So if your phone is stolen, somebody is trying to duplicate it, this number is the very important number that helps the government find these things. It is used to verify the genuineness of a phone. It is also, in fact, important that the users can report cyber fraud, spam calls through this app. Now, this app, the Sanchar Saathi app that I'm talking about, there can be, the users can address cybersecurity concerns on it. There is real-time alerts to track a lost phone. It helps the police recover lost phones. The app can be used to block lost devices. The government says that so far they have recovered about 50,000, more than 50,000 phones in October 2025. More than 7 lakh lost phones have been recovered across the country. It helps trace one device every minute. That's what the government says. Now, what was the missive, or what was the government order, the government's directive on the Sanchar Saathi app, which has, in fact, got not only the cybersecurity experts, the people, the champions for privacy, INTIZI, but also the government calling this an attempt to backdoor snooping in your phones. The government said that all phones must have this app installed, pre-installed when you buy this phone. All app must be pre-installed in new phones, and for the existing one, it should be downloaded via software apps. Software updates. All phones in India need to have this app. It is mandatory. Now, app must be readily visible and accessible. The app's functions cannot be disabled. You cannot disable. So this goes against, agencies like Apple, phones like Apple, which you have to give consent. So the whole idea of consent goes for a toss with this app. Handset manufacturers must comply for this order within 120 days is what the government has said. Now this got the opposition into a tizzy, and they said, as I've been saying, that the government is trying to enter your phones through a back channel. Let's first listen in to what the opposition charge on this was.
ऑपोजिशन ये जो इशू ढूंढ करके लाने का आवश्यकता नहीं है। विंटर सेशन पार्लियामेंट में बिजनेस तय किया गया है, बहुत सारा मुद्दे हैं और कई मुद्दे जो ऑपोजिशन ने भी उठाया है उस पर हम बातचीत करके आगे क्या करना है इसमें विचार करेंगे। नए नए मुद्दे ढूंढ करके पार्लियामेंट को डिस्टर्ब करने के लिए बहाना बनाने का कोई आवश्यकता नहीं है। हर मुद्दे अपने जगह में इम्पोर्टेंट है, लेकिन मुद्दे को आप हथियार बना करके पार्लियामेंट को स्टॉल करेंगे, ये तो ठीक नहीं है।
You're calling it a snooping app, so you know what it is then. But you said snooping app, so it is a snooping app. I mean, clearly, it's ridiculous. Now, where else do they want to, I mean, citizens have their right to privacy. Even all of you must be having a right to privacy to send your own messages to family, friends, without the government looking at everything. It's not just one thing. It's not just snooping on the telephones. It's overall. They are turning this country into a dictatorship in every form. You ask me every day why Parliament is not functioning. It's not functioning because they are refusing to talk about anything. So it's very easy to blame the opposition, but the fact is they are not allowing any discussion on anything, and that is not democracy.
This is Orwellian. This is Big Brother wanting to get into your private life. A smartphone is no longer just a phone to make calls. It is a repository of all your memories, of all your private conversations, of data, of information. The government wants to get into that. This is a complete invasion into your personal and private space. Democracies don't behave like this. Free societies don't behave like this. This is an assault on individual freedom and liberty. I mean, has this government suddenly come up with a tool which is completely, which no other country has come up? The only other country which is using this kind of a tool is Russia. This is like basically installing Pegasus in everybody's phone.
Now, after this whole furor on social media, in the parliament, the Telecom Minister Scindia, he came out to clarify and put out the government's position. So first, let's listen in to what the minister had to say on this. He said that it is not mandatory app on your phone. If you want to use it, use it. If you don't want to use it, delete it. That's what the minister said. Let's listen in.
अगर आप इसको अपने फोन पे रखना चाहते हो तो रखो, अगर आप इसको डिलीट करना चाहते हो तो डिलीट करो। जिस तरीके से, उदाहरण के तौर पर आपके फ़ोन पे जब आप फ़ोन खरीदते हो तो उस पर कई ऐप्स आ जाती हैं, जैसे गूगल मैप्स भी आ जाता है। अब आपको गूगल मैप इस्तेमाल नहीं करना है तो आप डिलीट कर लो। अगर आपको संचार साथी इस्तेमाल नहीं करना है तो डिलीट कर दो।
इसका मतलब ये ऑप्शनल है सर।
ऑब्वियसली डिलीट कर सकते हो आप। ये कस्टमर प्रोटेक्शन की बात है और हर भ्रम को मैं तोड़ने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ। आपको डिलीट करना है तो आप डिलीट कर दोगे। आप कोई मैंडेटरी नहीं है। आप अगर रजिस्टर नहीं करना चाहते हो, मतलब कि उदाहरण के तौर पे इस ऐप का उपयोग नहीं करना चाहते हो, तो रजिस्टर मत करो।
Now, while the minister says that, if you want to delete it, you delete it. It's not something that will be a permanent feature in your phone. Remember one thing. The confusion started once the PIB and, in a clarification that they had put out in a statement, had said that manufacturers must ensure the app is easily accessible during device setup with no disabling or restriction of its features. Now, this goes absolutely again. So whether it is an afterthought, a climb down, a U-turn, or there has been some sort of a communication that the PIB has not been able to clarify, which the minister then had to. We will have to wait and see whether it's a U-turn from the government or not. But this, ladies and gentlemen, raises some big questions, and we will take those big questions and then, of course, go across to our guests. Those will be joining me in a short while from now. The questions that people are asking, and so is the opposition, will it be used for snooping? What are the safeguards as far as this app is concerned? Will the government have access to the messages and calls? There is an app sitting in my phone. What else would it be able to do? Can the government, in fact, look at my private messages? Demands wide range of permissions when installed. It also, the question that they are asking, that why should it demand access to camera, calls and messages? I mean, this is something that should be optional. I should give that permission to any app. Serious concerns over user privacy is another thing that people are talking about. Let me very quickly at this moment go across to, in fact, my guest on the show. NS Napnai is the founder of Cyber Saathi Foundation. He's a senior advocate also in the Supreme Court who is joining me at this moment, a champion for privacy and citizens' rights. We are also being joined by Jitin Jain, cyber expert, who is with me on the broadcast. I thank both of you for taking the time out and speaking to us. I want to understand this, Jitin, let me begin with you and ask you this. Apple and sources, in fact, are telling us, there are news reports one after another. Apple has flatly said that they can't do it. It goes against their policy of privacy. It is not possible. While the minister comes out and clarifies that it is, you can disable this app, he has not clarified whether the existing users, those who have this app, can delete it, or the people, who will be buying the new phones, who will have this app pre-installed, they would also have this option. What are your views on the restrictions and the whole argument that this goes against the privacy of users, their online consent for any app?
Ankit, honestly speaking, I am at the loss of words. And, I don't know whether the original notification mandated, this non-disabling option along with the pre-installation. I don't know whether this the allowance of disabling or uninstalling is a climb down or it was not a part of original order. We are yet to see. But I'll tell you three things. A, right now, the app which you download from a Play Store is harmless. It's for customer care. If you lose your mobile phone, if you want to report a stolen SIM, if you want to see how many SIMs are running on your Aadhaar card, right now it is more in the form of fraud prevention and customer care. But the moment you try and go for a mandatory pre-installation, you are changing the entire dynamics. Then you are basically trying to raise a question about the very fundamentals of privacy of consent and data. And for any government app to be installed, or forget pre-installed, to be installed by force to any mobile phone, there will be questions you will have to answer about the data privacy, data collection, data lifecycle, data storage, and whether the scope of permissions will be expanded in the future or not. Who will have access to those data? So right now, those questions are not very clear. So whether you allow an app to be disabled or not, or uninstalled or not, is the second question. The moment you are going on for a mandatory pre-installation, there are fundamental questions you need to answer. I've always been pro-government. I am pro-surveillance. But this is, I think you're trying to hit an ant with a hammer on the wall. Yeah. I think this is a decision which should have been taken with a broad public consultation, broad consultation in the parliament, with the confidence of people. And what is the original objective? If the original objective is to prevent financial frauds and mobile theft, then this purpose is already lost. It may be lost in the communication or lost in the translation. So in my opinion, I don't think any government app anywhere across in the world, and you should force any private operator or telecom service provider or a mobile manufacturer to pre-install. It is, and Apple is also lying. They're also not very clean. They do install, pre-install apps when it comes to financial agreements. Yes. In Google, you'll find many third-party apps being pre-installed who pays money. So, they are running a different story altogether. But in my personal opinion, I would not support any government app.
You've set the premise very well, and it's very interesting. Like you yourself said, usually on matters like this, you are pro-government, but this has raised some concerns as well. I just want to understand, also from Napinai, the government says that, listen, don't take it in the realm of snooping and all. Look at the success of this app. The government has said that this is a big step to ensure telecom cyber security. Why is it being looked with suspicion? I mean, it has helped so many people with their phones being recovered. It is so easy. Many users, in fact, are going on and saying it's a great app. We are using it. Why is it being seen with so much suspicion?
Sorry, I'm intervening. I have to leave, but just 30 seconds. Napi, if you allow, I have to leave, but just 30 seconds. All these
okay.
things you can
Go
do
ahead.
it on a website. You don't need an app. You don't need an app. You can do it on a website. So all those things, finding a SIM, reporting a SIM, all these things you can do on a light app, website, or anything you can, go on a web portal. You don't need a mandatory installation of an app. So that is it from my side. I have to take a flight, so my apologies.
Okay, no problem. Before you go then, Jatin, let me ask you one more question. Like you said that, it is secondary that, people would be able to disable it or not. Doesn't it go against the whole, like whatever app you download on your phone, there are certain consent that you have to give for that app. If it is pre-mandated, if it is pre-installed, then it takes my consent away from me as far as this app is concerned, whether I want to use it or not.
Of course. I mean, you look at any top malwares in the world. I mean, I'm talking about Pegasus and all. You don't need to register. You just install the app and the malware goes online. So we are not questioning the intent of the government. The point is, if there is an app which is this, live location permissions, tomorrow a third-party actor can misuse it. What if, Chinese telecom, manufacturers like Xiaomi, who would have pre-installation access to this app, were to do something, hera-fairy, you will not even come to know. So I think do not give a weapon which can kill you in the hand of your enemies, thinking that you are, giving them for the security or defense. I mean, you have to be very, very careful with what you are doing and what is going to be the consequences. I mean, the intent may be good, but the process is absolutely bad.
All right. And like you said, I think the question is, Jatin, thank you so much for taking the time out. I know that you have to catch a flight. You said that you would only be, be with us for a very short period. Thank you for being with us. Like Mr. Apna, like Jatin was saying, the fact is that for the government to in fact come out first with this this mandate, then the minister trying to play it down, saying, listen, it's not mandatory, you can delete it. We have seen this time and again with many decisions. First, the decisions are in fact rolled down and then they are rolled back after a lot of hue and cry. Does this also tell you that's where the trust deficit is? There is no wider public consultation?
It's not just about trust deficit. It's about what is appropriate, what is permissible in law, and what needs to be done, and the methodology in which it should be done. Let me simplify it here. See, Jatin has already pinpointed the vulnerabilities or threats that can arise from downloading of an app. I want to address the legal aspects now. Now, first and foremost, there was a mention about other apps coming preloaded on our phone. That does indeed lead to corporate surveillance. But that's not the same, and it doesn't stand on the same footing as government surveillance. And when we talk about government surveillance, it's not like we distrust the government. We are talking about what a government is permitted to do and what it is not permitted to do. And here is a situation where the government believes it has to act like the corporates. It will first do what it wants to and then seek forgiveness rather than permission. So when you download an app, you do it through a conscious action of downloading because you decide that you want the app, and then you do it through consent framework. You agree to the terms and conditions. You get the opportunity to first review what is it that the app is seeking permissions for. You can then block out certain permissions, etc. Right? So you control what you share also through an app. At least that is presumed to be the norm when you download an app, a legitimate app, through a proper app store or a Google, any store, right? An app store, I would put it as. Now, here is a situation where the government is laying emphasis on how relevant and how useful the Sanchar Saathi app has been. Kudos to them for that. But why don't you allow us to decide whether we think it's relevant for us? Why don't you allow us to decide whether we want to utilize it or not? You mentioned about me being a champion for various things. Let me tell you, I am one of the biggest champions for cyber safety, particularly against financial frauds, etc. Right? So we definitely want solutions for that. But the solution should not be excessive. It should not be disproportionate. And it certainly cannot be with a trade-off on privacy or my rights.
And we are also talking about, for a country, forget example of Russia. Apart from Russia, nobody, no other country is doing this, not even China, though they have a very controlled social media. They have their own, setup as far as social media is concerned. But the fact remains, ma'am, that when the government wants to bring something like this, shouldn't there be at least an open discussion about it, especially in a country where the privacy protection laws are still being debated? There are a lot of questions about how the government user apps and their data is being leaked or sometimes is being floated online. In all that, should the government first have taken all the stakeholders from the manufacturers to the users in some sort of confidence before rolling this out?
Certainly. One aspect is public consultation, but the first level of evaluation that the government ought to have done is the necessity for this app and how do they plan to implement it. So when we are talking about an app of this order, and you're right, you have the Russian example of mandating compulsory inclusion of certain apps, but there also Russia claims that it is doing that to promote its local technologies. That's on an aside. But when we come to India as a democracy, there are two things we talk about when we speak about data protection. The first I already adverted to, which is consent. But
Yes.
there is a second aspect, which is accountability and responsibility or liability. So what is it that you're doing as a government to show accountability? Where is there clarity in terms of what is it that you're... See, right now the government has also clarified saying it is not collecting any data. Then what exactly is it doing with downloading the app? How exactly is it tracing your phone without collection of data? Clearly some data is needed.
Yes.
What it's trying to say is it may be trying to emphasize that it's not collecting personal information. But there again, if it is my location that you're collecting, that is personal information too. And
Yes.
telling me that you have the right to remove something is not the same as telling me that I have the right to choose to download something.
That's right.
And this is a very simple construct which seems to be eluding the government. And I would genuinely and earnestly request that this direction be recalled and evaluated with wisdom. Because what you need, if you need
that's an
to
important
provide
advice.
protection, do it the right way.
That's an important advice. We are hoping that the government, in fact, listens to this because, like I said, it's, ma'am, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks, Jatin Jain, for also being with us on this. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, it's not about doubting the intent of the government. The fact remains that, A, there should be wider consultations. And number two, before the government throws out this sort of an order for the manufacturers, why shouldn't the people be informed about it? Why should it be under the shroud of secrecy? And like, the minister possibly now has, after the backlash has gone back and said that you can delete it. But even before deleting, shouldn't it be my right to download this with the kind of consent that I want to give as far as this app is concerned? That is the primary question that needs to be answered before any such move is made in future.